Shalom Aleichem. Welcome to another Speak Up Amisrael event. We have a very, very special topic to talk on tonight. Unfortunately, not such a comfortable topic to talk about, but it is titled The Silent Holocaust. We're going to be having with us one of the rabbis of Laachim. His name is Rabbi Yואב רובינסון. Whoever doesn't know what Laachim is, basically it is an organization that's taking care and worrying about Jews in all different situations, whether it comes to intermarriage or any other kind of topics that come to threaten the Jewish people physically or spiritually. And we're going to get deeper into that topic and get more of a background of what exactly it is that Laachim does. I have a lot of different things to talk about. Whoever doesn't know, recently there was, even due to intermarriage and relationships between Jews and Arabs, some tragic things have happened recently in our community and in our nation. We're not going to get into too much details, but we're going to talk about similar events that have happened and how to prevent these things from happening. Some of the statistics maybe of what's going on in Am Yisrael when it comes to intermarriage and what we can do in order to prevent this. It's a pressing topic that we need to address, like everything else that we've been talking to. Some people feel uncomfortable doing it, but here we have with us Rabbi Roubinsson, Yואב Roubinsson, is joining us right now. Welcome, Rabbi.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for joining and coming on this event to talk about this pressing topic. Let's just start with, first of all, who is Rabbi Yואab Roubinsson, and then maybe if you could explain what Laachim is.
Sure. So I'm born in Israel. I'm in my 40s, married, children, and I would say about 15 years ago, I became a Baal Tshuva and decided to dedicate my life helping others. And I've done that for many years in different organizations. Some of them were as a volunteer and some of them as part of the staff. I have my history in working with the IDF. I myself served as a soldier in the paratroopers, but I was volunteering to help strengthen our soldiers and connect them to their Jewish identity. I used to lead Shabbatonim with soldiers, with IDF soldiers. I volunteered in the prison system. Apparently, Jewish religious rehabilitation is much more successful than the regular rehabilitation for inmates. And so I got a chance for many years to do that as well. I volunteer in our search and rescue unit in Netanya. And I've been in Laachim for the past 10 years, doing counter-missionary work, also giving counseling on intermarriage and assimilation, and helping also mentor young Jewish young adults, teenagers and young adults that have a Jewish mother and an Arab father, helping strengthen their Jewish identity. And in a nutshell, I can tell you Laachim is an organization that's been around for almost, I would say, 74 years already. It started in the 1950s. And basically, the organization works doing counter-missionary work, like I said before, intermarriage, assimilation, also education, preventative as well. And we have a small project reconnecting to the descendants of Jews, survivors of the Holocaust, who were not informed of their Judaism. So we find them and let them know if they're alive or their descendants that they're Jewish.
There's so many different fronts that Laachim takes care of, and that is that they're involved in when it comes to, like I said, helping Am Yisrael succeed spiritually and also physically. What motivated you to get involved with all of these different practices?
So, like I said before, when I did my tshuva, I felt a huge calling to helping others, and wherever I found a place that needed my help and my support, I went and did that. And about 10 years ago, there was an opening in Laachim And with my knowledge of the religions from the university when I studied in America, it kind of fit perfectly together, being able to help them on doing counseling on, I would say, like a social worker on one hand, but on the other hand, also with all the religious theological knowledge of Christianity, Islam, and other religions.
It's a blessing to have someone like you in Am Yisrael that is so invested in helping out spiritually and physically to make sure that these things are being done, or someone is paying attention to these pain points that we have inside our nation. Unfortunately, there's many different fronts. Usually, in the past Speak Up events, we've been speaking specifically about the Christian missionaries that have been coming to Israel, especially now when we are at a war and we're on face value weak and vulnerable and kind of in need of help. But I think this topic of what I know of Yad La'achim in Eretz Yisrael the most of, which is intermarriage. I think that's a topic that I would like to focus on a little bit more in this session, is to talk about the reality of the intermarriage rate globally for Jews, the assimilation rate, what we call התבוללות in Hebrew, right? Intermarrying. And also specifically in the land of Israel, where it's, I don't even know where to begin, but I know you have way more numbers for me. So if maybe you could just give us an introduction of what is the reality right now for intermarriage rates globally, if you could start with that, and then focus a little bit more on the Eretz Yisrael.
Okay, so like you said, yeah, intermarriage and assimilation we're in a terrible crisis regarding that. In the world, it's around between 60 to 70% on average of intermarriage. Some countries, it goes down to 20%, like in Mexico, because they have a very strong Sephardic community that also doesn't allow gerim, converts. So that kind of that stops the young men and women there, the Jews, to look outside for non-Jews that maybe they can convert them. But in general, it's between 60 to 70%. In America, it's about 60%. The statistics say that about every year, about 100,000 Jews assimilate. So in 20 years, we're talking about 2 million Jews just in America that we call them like they've disappeared, basically. Because even though they're still alive, Baruch Hashem, but the fact that they're married to a non-Jew, and if they're a man, their children are not Jewish, and if they're a woman, their children are Jewish, but the chances of them marrying a Jew goes down to 10%, and the grandchildren to 2%. So it's really just a disappearing of Jews, and it's a big number when you think about it. 2 million Jews in America in 20 years. That's a third of the Holocaust. The Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir called assimilation the silent Holocaust. That was her phrase.
I didn't know that it came from her, but I personally, when I decided on this name, I had to fast approval of the Rav as well, so that we'd be able to use a name like this for an event. But I knew personally that there is no name more fitting for an event like this to talk about intermarriage, the silent Holocaust. Why is there such a let's say a negative taste to this phrase, the silent Holocaust?
It's causing the future generation to disappear. And if you think about it, what Hitler wanted was to destroy the Jewish people. If we're not bringing Jewish children into the world, there's no continuity. So in a certain sense of the word, we're continuing the Holocaust by not bringing those children to the world. So I mean, it sounds like an extreme phrase, but when you think about it, in 20 years, 2 million American Jews are going to disappear. That's a scary number. And after what happened to us in the Holocaust, and after all of the years of the pogromim and the devastation, Jews should bring into the world many children, And even if you're not religious, just for the sake of winning the war against Hitler, have many children. Show the Nazis we're here to stay, and we're bringing many children into the world so we can, counterbalance the loss of 6 million. I'll just add one more thing. There was a study done on the survivors of Oskar Schindler was a non-Jew who saved about 1,200 Jews. Several years ago, they counted how many descendants from those 1,200 years are alive today. There was about 12,000. That means that for every one Jew he saved, they had another 10 descendants living today. And when you think about it, that's not a lot of descendants. That means that every child had 1 or 2 children, and their grandchildren had 1 or 2 children, and that got to 10. At the end of World War II and the Holocaust, there were 11 million Jews in the world. If we implement the same statistic that we did for the counting of Schindler's survivors, there should be 110 million Jews in the world today. But there's only like 15 million. So the question is, where did like 95 million disappear? Intermarriage, assimilation, that's the answer.
It hurts to even hear these numbers and to think about what could have been and how much faster the Geula could have came if we had that many more Jews doing mitzvot and being connected to Hashem and bringing light to the world. And what about in the land of Israel? In the land of Israel, it's a little bit more of a crazy situation, I'll say that, because the people that on face value that these that are being intermarried with are outright our enemies. They're people that literally want to slaughter us, and they don't hide it, and they say that they want to kill us,
right,
as a nation, right? And here we have the last numbers that I heard years ago were 60,000 couples a year between Arabs and Jews. I don't know if that number is right. The rabbi can correct me or not, but it's a little bit of a different situation between John getting married with Shlomit in America, right? Or Rachel in America getting married with John. Here it's Muhammad and Rachel, right? And it's a little bit different when it comes to life and death situations, obviously, with the differences between Islam and Christianity as well. Islam being a much more for lack of a better term, hands-on relationship when it comes to the marriage. And what is exactly the situation here?
So in Israel, like you mentioned before, the assimilation right now is about 10%. If you compare it to the world, it's a small number. But if you think of the fact that we're talking about Israel, the land of the Jews, there shouldn't be any assimilation. The numbers say that there's between, like you said, 60 to maybe 100,000 Jewish women with Arabs. It's very difficult to know the exact number, because if they convert to Islam, then they're no longer recognized as a Jew, and then the statistic doesn't count them. If they don't get married, then the statistic doesn't count them either.
Can we just drill? I'm going to stop the rabbi just to focus on that point. Why is it that they are not recognized as Jews when halachically they are?
Okay, so because Israel is also a state that is run by laws or civil laws, so you could be halachically considered a Jew, but then you could, in terms of the state and the bureaucracy, you could be registered as a Muslim. And when a family like this has a child, so when a Jewish woman who has not converted and a Muslim man have a child, when they come to the internal ministries, Misrad Apnim, to register the child, they're asked by the person on the desk, do you want to register your child as a Muslim or as a Jew? Because according to Islam, it goes by the father. And according to Judaism, it goes by the mother. So now you have the option. I would say 99.9% of the time, the father forces the mother to register the child as a Muslim, even though the child is halachically Jewish.
Very unfortunate situation, but where does Yad La'achim come into this picture of the Israeli situation?
So Yad La'achim started about 30 years ago to help rescue Jewish women from these Arab-Muslim relationships. And basically what we offer is that we have a 24-hour, 7 days a week hotline that any woman can call to ask for help. We get on average about 10 calls a day. That some of those calls are from parents, siblings, neighbors, colleagues at work that want to inform us that this woman is in this relationship and they have a feeling that this relationship is not a healthy relationship. I would say that more than 90% of the women we help are in a very abusive, physically abusive relationship. So it makes it very difficult. And so Yad La'achim, basically, we give them all the support they need. It starts off with a meeting with a social worker and preparing the woman to start basically a new life. She could be married with children. She could be single, meaning not married, but, in a relationship. Or she could be just, already in an older age where she's already divorced from her first husband and this is her second husband. And in all cases, we are there to help. And basically, the social worker starts to formulate a plan with her to help her prepare for this move, leaving her old life and starting a new life. And we have a security team that performs the extraction if needed, if it's in a dangerous area, whether it's a mixed city like Lod or Ramle or Haifa or Yerushalayim, or whether it's an Arab village in Israel, or if it's an Arab village, over the Green Line. It's still Israel, but it's a more dangerous area. We're talking about like Jenin, Ramallah, Shechem, Hebron, very, very dangerous places. Our security team, these guys are military, fluent in Arabic. They know how to dress and, appear Muslim, and they can go and extract her with her children. She can only take a backpack with her when she leaves. So just imagine yourself, you need to leave your home and never come back again. What do you take? You got a backpack to fill. What do you take with you? That's the choices she has to make. Once she's out, we help her with a safe house. So we have an apartment or a unit that is for her in a secure location. And basically, we furnish it. We bring the children new clothing because they left with nothing. So new games, new clothing, new furniture. Usually we have like an adoptive family that helps them, invites them for Shabbos and comes in every couple of days to see how things are going. And we have a lawyer to basically help with the divorce. Usually we go to the police station to basically testify about the violence, and therefore the husband usually gets arrested and there's like a restraining order. And yes, I would say about 95% of the time there's physical violence. Some of it is terrible physical violence, things you can't even imagine, stabbing his wife, breaking her jaw, breaking limbs, tying women to trees. We had a woman who was put in a machsan, in a storage facility outside in the baking sun for 3 days with no food. She almost died. Real terrible things. And for the few percent that don't have physical violence, but they have emotional violence, financial violence, other really bad stuff. So it's a very, very abusive relationship, and we're there to help. And the support comes, like I said, in all forms. We help them find a job. If she wants to learn a profession, we'll help her do that. But basically, our mission is to get her on her feet, to make her feel independent, to make her feel like she can, go out and work and make a living and make something of herself. We help her, if she's interested, we help her to reconnect to her Jewish identity, whether it's coming to a Shabbaton. We do twice a year a Shabbatons for these women. We've helped over the years more than 6,000 families. And we're in touch with many of them. We still are in touch with them because the support we give them is probably for the rest of their life. They're going to need our support after what they went through. When I say support, I mean it could just be even just talking on the phone once a week, before Shabbos with the social worker, and getting strength to deal with continuing living. And the children get tutoring, so most of the children coming out don't speak any Hebrew. So we need to teach them Hebrew. We need to teach them about Judaism and bring them up to the level of the class that they're in, so they can easily be incorporated in the classroom, in the Israeli Jewish classroom.
It's such a mind-blowing thing to even fathom that we have potentially 60 to 100,000 women of our sisters, of our daughters, living this reality, bringing children into the world as well, and whoever knows how many kids that is, right, that are growing up as Muslims, and potentially, I know in the IDF I experienced arresting Palestinians, and I was told that kid that you just arrested, he's Jewish, and he was technically being arrested for terror. He's being arrested for terrorism, and he's a Jewish kid. His mom
Right.
is Jewish, and she's.
I'll tell you something that happens a lot. When you see Palestinians throwing stones, you can bet yourself that at least one of them in the first line, the first row, he's a Jew. And the reason why he's doing that is because even though his mother converted to Islam and he was born as a Muslim, his classmates always make fun of him because he's the son of the Jew. Right, his mother, even though she converted to Islam, she's still always called by them as a Jew, which is halakhically right. She still is Jewish, and therefore, socially, he has problems. And he needs to prove himself to his friends that he's more Muslim than they are to be accepted socially. So a lot of times, the ones standing in the first line throwing stones at the IDF soldiers are Jewish. So it's so sad to see. On one hand, you have a Palestinian who's actually halakhically Jewish, throwing stones at an IDF soldier who's Jewish, who's maybe shooting back, trying to protect himself. And this is what assimilation and intermarriage could bring us. That's the clash of two sides when both sides are Jewish. It's very sad.
It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. We're gonna get to B'ezrat Hashem, what advice Yad L'Achim, and specifically the rabbi, has for people in general, or women in this situation, to help themselves, to prevent this from getting to this point. But I just wanted to talk about, I was listening to an interview about a woman, an Israeli woman, that was being interviewed on a Wutzar Biשראל, channel 14 here in Israel. And she was talking about how Yad L'Achim saved her and her 3 children and took her out. She was next to Har Bracha, and how she was saved in a situation there. And she was saying, one of the points that struck me, she said, is from the charm that these Arabs have towards the Israeli girls, the charm that they come with, and then the dating, and the Jewish girl that feels like she's like on a certain level a rebel, and that no, everybody's one. We're all just one people. There's no difference between us and the Arabs. We can all just, what's the problem of us dating? And from the charm of the courting to the dating to the being married and then immediately being abused was so fast that she was so stuck, and she was so caught up before she even realized what was going on, and that because she had gone on this rebellious path of Arabs are good people and we can get married to them, there's no problem here, then she had to kind of continue this lie, or not this lie, this fantasy that she was telling her family, right? That she wanted to make it work, and she had to make it work, and sooner or later she found herself with 3 children and being abused nearly every single day, and her children being abused, even though they were the sons to this father. Like you said, they were the sons of a Jewish woman, even though she had converted, right? So how often is the situation that bad? Like how if you had to give an average, how long into the relationship is it that Yad L'Achim is actually able to do something?
So first of all, I should mention that we also do preventative lectures. So we have several social workers and the women who give lectures, who go from school to school talking to young women, mostly in high school. And this is our way of preventing a lot of situations by informing the girls and these young women of the risks with these relationships and how to be careful and how to watch out if one of their friends starts this kind of relationship. So I can tell you that these relationships or this problem affects all groups. We're talking about secular, religious, and even Haredi, frum. So it happens in all places. And the more there's an awareness, that the more that we can help prevent it. So that's one thing. Regarding your question on when can Yad L'Achim step in? So we can step in from the beginning, before she even met him. You know, if she tells her friend, "Hey, I'm talking on Instagram or on, I don't know, on Facebook or on TikTok or on WhatsApp, I'm talking to this Arab guy," we can start there already. It's never too early to get us into the picture, because the sooner we're involved, the easier it is to stop and to help her and to help them realize that this is the wrong direction she should be going into. But I can tell you we've helped as young as 12-year-old girl and until a woman in her 70s. So all ages. Wow. Okay. And I can tell you that this happens more in the north and the south of Israel, so less in the center of Israel, more in like the peripheria, or the cities where there's a little bit more hardships financially, or maybe there's more Arabs there, Bedouins in the south, or Arabs in the north, and it usually affects, I would say, a lot of times younger women who have maybe some issues with self-esteem and confidence. Maybe they have some issues with their father. Maybe the father wasn't around. Maybe the father was abusive. It could be maybe the home has some financial issues, and this Arab is offering to pay and buy and take her out and show her a good time, and she's not used to that. It could be a young girl who's in a very large family of 12 children, and she's in the middle, and the parents aren't giving her all the attention she feels she deserves, and she's just looking for someone to look out and see her and say hello and give her some attention. And a lot of the places that are risky are like construction sites, hospitals, where some of the staff, like I said, is Arab and Jewish. On the buses, a lot of times bus drivers could try to start a relationship with a young student. Maybe she's on her way to high school, and every day same route, and so there's places of more of risk. But because of the social media today, really everybody's at risk, really, because you can get in touch with anybody everywhere at any moment. So that also causes a big problem.
I was going to ask, how did social media in this generation that we find ourselves in, with everything being at the touch of a hand, how has that changed the game for Yad L'Achim?
So I can tell you that because of social media, there's more of this happening. There's more of these relationships forming because of that. Where before pre-social media, you actually had to go out in the world physically and look for this girl and start talking to her and buy her gifts. Today, the relationship begins already on the chat, and from there, it's already once she's convinced she wants to go out with him, then it makes his life easier. I can tell you that some of the reasons, if you ask yourself, what is an Arab looking for in a relationship with a Jew? So first thing is that in the Arab culture and the Muslim religion, it is forbidden to have relationship before marriage. And that belief system, or that way of living, is embedded deeply in the culture, in the Muslim Arab culture, that even, I would say, secular Muslims, they still follow that. And, every year in Israel, there's maybe 30 to 40 women who are murdered for disgracing their family.
Honor murders.
Honor murders, exactly. And usually the person murdering them is their brother or father or uncle or grandfather. It's their immediate family. So it's not an enemy from far away, but it's actually a killing of revenge to clean their name and honor, because the tribal reality is very, powerful and strong in the Muslim Arab culture. And so to get married in a Muslim religion or in the Arab culture, you need to come with money to pay the father of the bride. Okay, so it's like you're paying to buy your wife, and that amount could be 150,000 shekel to maybe 300,000 shekel. Now, obviously, this varies maybe from place to place, but again, you have to come with a big amount of money. Now, an 18 or 19-year-old young guy who's not going to the IDF because he's not serving in the army, he doesn't have that money. Unless he comes from a very wealthy family, he doesn't have that money. Now, he wants to get married. He's at an age where he wants to date. And he just can't, because if he's going to date an Arab Muslim woman and he's not married to her, he's at risk of being murdered himself. And she's at risk of being murdered. So that's off limits. So to be able to save that amount of money, he needs to work for several years until he's able to save 150,000 shekels to be able to look for a bride. Now, another option, an alternative option for him was look at the Israeli Jewish culture and try to date there. So that's one of the reasons why they're focused on Jewish women. Another reason would be that maybe if they're Palestinian, maybe they want to get Israeli citizenship. So maybe they have some kind of, whether it's for terrorist reasons or just wanting to live a better life as an Israeli and not as a Palestinian. Another reason could be maybe they have a history in the jail, in the prison system. And when you get married and you're working, it looks like you're more normal. Then there's a better chance that the police and the judicial system is not going to be hassling you. Another reason is for ideological reasons. Like bombs, stones, and knives are not doing the work. Baruch Hashem, Jews are continuing, and we're still here. So for them to do like a mega a terror attack is to marry a Jewish woman, because it affects her parents, her siblings, her friends, her family, her neighbors. So many circles are affected by this negatively, that this is like a mega terror attack by just marrying a Jewish woman. And according to the Quran, the children that will be born are going to be Muslim anyway. So I'm bringing another person to become a believer in Islam. So those are the reasons why they might be looking for a Jewish woman.
I also want to touch on the work that Yad L'Achim is doing against missionary and Christian missionary efforts here in Israel. But just to finish up, you've kind of clarified who are the common victims and what are the dangers that they're getting themselves into, and how much of a mass effect it has on the nation, but specifically on these individuals' families, the parents, the siblings, and the extended family and the community. But what message would you have for a Jew, no matter where they are in the world, but specifically those here in Israel that are in a relationship with someone who's not Jewish and is potentially going to continue with that?
So I have a lot to say on the subject. We could do a whole Instagram live just on that. But if I had to sum it up, maybe I would say we're all looking for our soulmate. Everyone wants to marry their soulmate. I think that's a common universal desire. When you stand under the chuppah, a Jewish wedding, the rabbi who's saying the brachas, the blessings, two of those blessings end with the ending, Yotzer Ha'adam, creator of man. If you ask yourself, why are we saying this bracha, this blessing now, when the person's in their 20s, 30s, or even 40s? We should have said this when the child was born in the hospital, the first crying of the baby came out, the father should have said, right, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Yotzer Ha'adam, creator of man. And the reason why we say this now at the wedding is because every person is only half a soul. And the soul, when it was in heaven before it descended into the world, it was complete, and it had within it masculine and feminine. So male and female, like Adam and Eve were created male and female together. If you really look into the text in Genesis, you see that it's written there, they created them as one, and then later on he separated them. So the soul is the same way. Now, when it comes into the world, God splits the soul into two, puts the feminine aspect of the soul in a female body and the masculine aspect of the soul in a masculine body. And then it could take 20, 30, 40 years until they meet each other and decide to get married. If you truly want your soulmate, The only way to get your soulmate is to marry someone of the same faith. So if you're going out and looking for other religions, other faiths, it could be a person that if he seems very nice and very happy, but you'll never fulfill the full potential you have of this relationship if it's not someone that could be potentially your other half. And your other half can only be someone of the same faith. So really, when you think about it, when there's intermarriage, there's 4 people that are affected by this. 4 people are hurt. The Jewish woman who's not marrying her Jewish man, her soulmate, because she's in a relationship with a Muslim. So that's already 2. And then the Muslim who's not marrying his soulmate, which is another Muslim woman. So we have 4 people affected negatively. And I can tell you that 85% of intermarriage, these marriages, intermarriage couples, 85%, this statistic comes from Pew Institute, 85% of them divorce. So if you marry a non-Jew, you have only 15% chance of surviving this marriage, till the end. And when I looked into the secret of those 15%, what do those have that the other 85 don't? Those 15% usually are couples that don't have children together, meaning they were already married with a Jew, got divorced, had children, got divorced, and now this is like their second wedding, and they have no children together. So there's not a lot to fight about. A lot of the problems and issues come about how do you raise the children, what religions you raise them, what holidays to celebrate. And this, by the way, this causes a lot of problems to the child. A lot of children who are born in intermarried homes have identity issues of who they are and what they're striving to become.
Say even more so when it's a Muslim and a Jew, because then for like we said earlier, according to them it goes by the father and you're a Muslim no matter what. According to us it goes by the mother and you're a Jew no matter what. So it's like what exactly am I? What's even more so, and on top of that. The proof is that all of these women are always still looked at as the Jew, even if they accepted Muhammad right. and Allah as supreme. They will always be the Jew by their mother-in-law, their father-in-law, their in-laws, and on all sides will always look at them as the Jew. They will never be accepted as a real Muslim, and those children will always also have a tainted reputation for coming out of a Jewish woman. And so it's this is a crazy topic, and I personally would love to continue to talk about this because I think it's super important, and the numbers are astronomical. Like you said, 10% of Am Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael, that's a huge number in the whole entire world. Me personally, my father is Brazilian, and I have a connection to Brazilian Judaism, and there the numbers are well above 80% intermarriage rate, and it's a very, very sad situation that we're going through in our nation, but we can't not touch on the topic of the Christian missionary activism that's going on in Israel right now. We've had a few talks about this, but לאחים is a special organization that I know is involved. If you could just explain what are the efforts in לאחים when it comes to the Christian missionary activism and activities that we see in the land of Israel right now.
Because of the war going on now, there's a lot of there's more activity of the missionaries taking advantage of the situation, of the fact that Jews are very worried, stressed out, and in the middle of a war. So it's so missionaries are taking advantage of that. They're working more hours on the internet, on social media. They're walking on the streets. You can see them passing out flyers, trying to recruit new believers. And I can tell you, לאחים has been doing this for many, many years. Even already in the 1950s, there were already then missionaries from America. And right after the establishment of the state, that for many Protestant Christians, this was like a new time where all of a sudden the Jews are coming back to the state to Israel. They're establishing a state, and therefore many missionaries came here in the 50s and the 60s to try to bring Jews into Christianity. Since the internet, a lot of the work has been moved there. So you could, like in the old days, we would stand outside of churches, especially especially what's called Messianic Jews, if you've heard the term before, which is basically just a washed up word for evangelical Christians. And so in the past, we used to stand outside of these churches, handing out flyers, explaining to people where they're going. This is Christianity. Today, people are learning things on the internet. They can become believers, and they haven't even stepped a foot in a church. And and they're already in a believer, and they're ready to be baptized. So it's a different kind of battle now, I would say. But we have many things we're doing to counter this. Whether it's videos on the internet, on YouTube, whether it's magazines that we're putting together. We have lectures to bring more of the, basically to be awareness, a lot of awareness to Jews on the situation. We do counseling, we meet people. And Baruch Hashem, we have many successful stories as well. I can tell you that in the past year, I've seen several Christian missionary organizations claim that they're losing believers, that there's actually a decline, which Baruch Hashem is good news.
Thank God.
I think some of it has to do with the work we're doing and other organizations are doing. There's in Israel, in the last 2 years, there was a big problem, not problem, but one of the biggest missionary on the internet basically was kicked out, and he was caught with as an adulterer with a woman who was working with him, and he was kicked out of the community. And he claimed, and he basically opened his mouth and said, listen, Messianic Judaism is a cult. He said that, and he wrote a book about that, or he's in the midst of writing a book about the fact. And today he no longer claims that he's a Messianic Jew, but he calls himself a Jewish Christian. And he says that this Messianic Judaism is a whole bluff. It's a lie. It's a cult. It's a disguise. It's Christianity in disguise. And so that caused a lot of problems. Many people who followed him on the internet, he basically was the lead presenter for an organization, or I would say a YouTube channel called iGod, which was very big and popular.
On YouTube, every time I go into YouTube, I see their commercials. I go to watch a Shiur Torah, literally a class in Torah from a Haredi rabbi, and the advert that's leading up to his class is from iGod.
Right, so they know how to use the YouTube to target their audiences, key search words, etc. And so basically, the number one presenter for the past 7 or 8 years of Messianic Judaism in Israel, he basically was kicked out, and he lost his job, and he lost his faith in Messianic Judaism, and that caused a lot of waves in this community. And that also helped bring people to ask themselves, what is this? Is this really Judaism, or is this, Christianity hiding under, Jewish identity? And so we've met many, I can tell you, believers, and many of them that over time, it's a process. A person doesn't leave his faith in one day, but it's a process that at the end, many people have left, and some of them have decided to become secular, and some of them decided they wanted to, to get to know the real Judaism and the Torah and Hashem. And I can tell you, I've also had the merit to helping bring many to yeshivas. I mean, so some people, threw the cross out and took a black kippah and went to yeshiva, and today they're studying in Kollel, Shulchan Aruch. So it's unbelievable the stuff that's going on. And but I can tell you that what's important for the community is to have awareness that they're deceiving, they're lying about their identity, their claims are all just false. And they're mostly looking for the weak. I mean, I can tell you when missionaries are looking to recruit new believers, they're looking like basically looking for the weakest person available to try to influence. Whether it's in the army, they have the missionaries have a organization that teaches them how to do missionary work in the IDF. And they teach them there, when you're in your pluga, when you're in your battalion or your platoon, look for the guy or the girl who has no friends, who's maybe has some social or financial issues, and or that they seem depressed, or maybe they went through some kind of trauma, and to go speak to them, spread the message of Yoshke to them, because they're going to be, it's going to be easier to convince them to bring them into the religion. And taking advantage of people when they're weak is the worst. It's the worst. You can't. There's nothing worse than that. So that's what they're doing. So we spread out the message, bringing awareness to people, and also answering questions. A lot of times people have questions. They see a video on the internet that the missionaries are putting up there, and they have all sorts of ways of advertising it, right? The forbidden chapter, or all sorts of stuff like that. And we're here, Yad L'Achim is here to answer your questions. Yeah, you want to talk about Isaiah 53, you want to talk about Daniel 9, you want to talk about Jeremiah 30 and 31. I mean, whatever chapter, whatever verse you want to bring, Yad L'Achim is here. We'll talk, we'll show you, we'll teach you, we can learn it together. But the idea is basically to educate the believers in Yoshke to realize that their belief is a false belief. Okay, and that they were misled all this time, and they were taken advantage of, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're here to. So we're not blaming them, but we're kind of helping them, reveal the true light, the emes, the truth, so they can take their first steps in leaving their Christian belief and coming closer to Judaism.
There's a certain sense of like taboo to talk about the fact that the help that we receive as a nation from a person with these intentions, with the intentions of bringing back a false Messiah and of spreading a false belief throughout the world and trying to convert Jews into Christians, that we shouldn't be as opposed to this help. For example, there's people that are coming here with large followings online, 4 million plus followers on Instagram, and coming here and making videos and spreading good word about Israel, and actually, on face value, coming off as a very friendly person, a very pro-Israel person, and doing an amazing job at explaining why Israel is a righteous nation and why we're not this evil, genocidal, apartheid state that everybody is screaming about us in the world. And here in the Speak Up events, we've kind of been very against this, obviously, because there's an agenda here. There's an intention that is hidden behind all of this nice Esav smiling face of the pig, right? And we say, right, the Edom is like the pig, that they show themselves that they're kosher, but inside it's all rotten.
Right.
I'm asking the Rav now, maybe not necessarily Yad L'Achim's position, but the Rav, if the Rav could talk about this, what is the danger of receiving help from a Christian evangelical when it comes to him wanting to try to help Israel?
Okay, so first of all, I want to make it clear that not all Christians that come to Israel are necessarily missionaries. So a missionary is someone who is basically trying to convert Jews into Christianity, in the fact that they're in Israel. There are Christians that come to Israel, and they might have an agenda, like you said, and they have an idea of what's going to happen in the second coming according to their belief, but they're not proactively going out there, handing out flyers, talking to people, or doing any of that. So first of all, I want to make sure that the audience realizes, our viewers, that you can't say that every Christian's a missionary, because it's not true to say that. But yes, they have all. I'm assuming all Christians have an agenda, because it's following their belief system. They believe that Yoshke will come back when all Jews believe in him as Messiah. So this is what they want. This is what they're striving for. And that's, it's not going to happen. But yes, the halacha is, in terms of accepting money from a non-Jew, and it doesn't matter if they're Christian or other denominations, in general, the idea is that we should not be accepting money from anybody. Why do we need the help of someone else? Why can't we just get the help of Hashem, right? Our God in heaven. He's here for us. He's the master of all sustenance, right? He's giving us all the sustenance, So if we truly believe in that, we don't need help from anybody else. We just need to pray to Hashem to help us. And really, that's what every Jew should strive for, and not only that, the halacha is even more than that. if you could avoid taking loans from Jews, even better. Everybody should be independent financially, because again, if you have complete faith in Hashem, then you don't need the help of anybody, and you should be. And we pray for this, and we say this, right? That we should not need the gift or the help from a physical person, right? We should only have the help from Hashem. So that should be something we should all strive for. Now, the halacha says that if a non-Jew wants to give money, let's say a non-Jew wants to donate money to build a shul, they don't have any Christian motivation. They're an atheist. They're atheist, and they believe in the Jewish people, and they want to give money to the Jewish people to build a Jewish shul with no strings attached. Even then, really, it shouldn't be done. And if you want to do it, nobody should know about it. Only the gabbai and the rabbi, and that's it. It should not be talked about. But again, because it's almost like it's putting Hashem, not in as a priority, or as the all powerful creator, and all of a sudden we need the help from someone else. Now, if they have an agenda, if they want to convert us into Christianity, that's even worse. So really, the best thing is not to have to take their help. Now, yes, there are many Christians that are trying to speak positively about Jews, because there are on our side. If you look at the world, right, it's kind of split into two, right? So there's like the Jews and the Christians are on a certain degree on one side, because we're trying to fight, against evil, and there's the other side, which is like the anti-Semitic, hating us, against us. Mentioning all the extreme Muslim jihadists who want to completely destroy us, like Hitler did. So they're on our side, but that the side that they're on with us, on one hand, it looks like they're helping us, but on the other hand, because of the agenda to try to bring us into Christianity, it could be mistaken, and that mistake could, we could be losing the spiritual battle here by, joining hands with them.
Focusing on the physical one. The physical battle overweighs the spiritual battle.
Right. So what I'm trying to say is this: if they want to say good stuff about us, that's good. The more support we get from people around the world, it's good, because there's so much hatred towards Israel and towards the Jewish people. But on the other hand, we need to remember, right? We can't put our faith in man, only in Hashem, only in Hashem. And that should be in our thoughts, and that's how we should be talking and living our life. We only put our faith in Hashem, because one day we could be very much disappointed by men, by people. So if they want to help, that's nice. Better not to take their money. Better only take money from what we earn and from what we get from Hashem. And if someone needs a poor person needs a small donation to buy food, then don't talk about it. Then don't tell anybody about it. Keep it a secret, because it's Chilul Hashem when everybody knows that you're being supported by Christians. Better not to be supported. Better to be supported by Jews. Better even than that, don't be supported by anybody. Only by Hashem, right? That's the ultimate thing. So that's kind of like, in a nutshell, that's what I would say. And yes, we if a tourist wants to come tour Israel, a Christian tourist, that's fine. They can come here. They can spend money on restaurants and hotels, but don't talk to us about Yoshke. Don't tell us about a Messiah. We don't want to hear that. You can come and tour, but you can't come and try to do missionary work and try to convince people to join your belief. We haven't done it for 2,000 years, and we're not doing it. We have our belief in the true God, Hashem, and we're still waiting for the Mashiach to come. He hasn't come yet. To all those that claim that he's come, well, if he's come, then why does the world look the way it is, right? I mean that's the easiest proof that he hasn't come.
100%. Just looking at the world itself. I just bought today the Mishneh Torah of the Rambam, a new set that I saw and I had to get. A nice new set there, and all the halachot of Melachim and the Milchamot, and
yes,
happening with
chapter 11 and chapter 12 in Ilchot Milchamot, right?
It's essential to learn these things. We're going to run out of time soon, so I just wanted to wrap up with this. First of all, saying thank you again for your time and for your expertise in these topics, and this following summarizing and wrap-up question, if we could break it up into two, because we spoke about two topics. I would like if the Rav could please pay attention to these two topics. For the people that are listening to this now and those that are going to be listening to it in the future once it's posted online, to YouTube and to Instagram, everywhere else that we've been posting these things, and I highly recommend people go back and listen to the previous conversations that we've had with other people and other rabbis and other people on this topic. Some holy women that have spoken on this topic, Rabbi Gabriel Sanders as well, who spoke about this topic. What is the Rav's message first for the viewers? Let's say a person like me, I'm married and there's no chance that I'm going to go get married with Fatima, right? But I'm a Jew and I care about my nation. What is the message for the people that have spoken, that are listening to this, that maybe need to be more conscious about the fact of intermarriage and assimilation? What is the message for the viewers when it comes to taking care of Am Yisrael and the idea of intermarriage, whether it's here in Israel or throughout the world?
So I would say, if you're a parent, make it a big emphasis to educate your children that a Jew only marries another Jew. That there's no way in the world that a Jew can marry a non-Jew. That should be, from the beginning of life, you should educate your children on the importance of continuing the tradition, the belief, the Torah, the mitzvahs, the ideology of Judaism by ensuring that you will marry a Jew. And, if you look in the past, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, even in America, the secular Jews in America, they all marry Jews, or the majority of them marry Jews because that's what they were brought up with. Many Jews didn't keep Shabbos, didn't keep kosher, but they married Jews. That the parents educated them on that, and that was a huge emphasis. So that's to those that have children, make it an emphasis to teach your children how important it is to marry another Jew. For those that are not married, you should know, like we said before, if you want your soulmate, right? I have many other reasons why you should marry a Jew, but if you want your soulmate, if you truly want to bring bring out into the world the potential that your life could hold as a married person, it will only happen with the Jew. And the third message about this is that look around you. You have neighbors, you have maybe siblings, maybe you have friends that are in these relationships. Talk to them about this. You can contact Laachim. We can give you information. We can talk to them about this, but don't ignore it. Don't say, well, it's their life, they can do whatever they want. They're gonna probably get divorced. 85% divorce rate. If you really care about them, talk to them about, before they get married, about the risks, about what's going to happen, about the children, about so many different things we can talk about why you should not marry a non-Jew. So maybe I can mention now that if anybody wants to contact Yad Le'achim, our numbers in Israel is *9234, *9234. You can also find us on the internet, on our websites. You can email us, so you can contact. So we could be there to help you with that. So that kind of answers your question.
What about on the side of doing something as a Jew about missionary activity and people that are getting interested in Christianity and other religions?
So again, what's important is keeping yourself aware, making sure that those people that are interested in Christianity or searching, or maybe even have just questions, make sure you put them in touch with the people that can give them answers, that can teach them, that can show them. Don't ignore it. So if you have a neighbor who's interested in Christianity, don't ignore them. Contact Yad Le'achim, put us in touch with them. We'll meet with them. We'll explain to them. We'll teach them. We'll educate them. We'll help them realize this is a false prophet, a false Messiah, a false religion, and we'll help them connect to the true religion, Judaism. So I think it's all about having ahava, love, having love, ahavat Israel, the love of Israel, caring for each other, and basically being sensitive enough to realize that you can offer help, being there to offer help, and putting the professional people like Yad Le'achim in touch with a person needing help.
Thank you very much for everything that you've done for Am Yisrael and everything that you do for Am Yisrael. Thank you for giving us the hour of your time to talk about this pressing topic. I personally, again, like I said, I have so many more questions, and hopefully we'll get back to it on another opportunity where we can talk together, whether it's recorded and live for the masses or it's just between the two of us. And yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. All the